I spoke to this inspector. I can't. He was one of the high-profile inspectors who went out from Scotland Yard to the case, and a couple of things he told me were interesting. First of all, I put to him about the smell of death in the car, or Madeleine McCann in the boot of the car. He explained that to me by saying that the McCanns had taken her clothing when they left that apartment in the car, and therefore there's traces of her scent, if you want, from the clothing. He also told me that the police dogs picked up her scent leaving this is his analysis of it, leaving the apartment to the supermarket. He reckons that her body is somewhere very within the region of the apartments. He also said that the way that he saw it, she woke up, she got up and tried to go and see her mum and dad, as a frightened kid will do, and walked out of the apartment. Instead of turning right, walked straight to where there's a supermarket somewhere there, and from there on her scent was disappeared, and he felt that someone had picked her up from there. And that's the way he saw it.
I think three basic points that you've made there, Maurice, and I'll try and deal with them carefully. Let's start with the scent that one of the Portuguese dogs in the early days found of Madeleine going, as you quite rightly say, from the apartment to the supermarket. Now, as I understand it, and I'm open to correction, but as I understand it, that could be an alive Madeleine or it could be a dead Madeleine. So, yes, there was a scent that the dogs found, and it stopped at the supermarket. That's all that we know on that. That doesn't actually prove whether she was alive or dead. If we now come to the dog's evidence, let's just briefly review that, because these dogs, by the way, with a 100% record of successfully alerting to a corpse, are called in for a very specific reason, and that is to locate where a corpse has been. And if they find the scent of a corpse, it can only be where a corpse has lain. And also, as you probably know, that corpse can only have been dead for about 2 hours or longer before that particular scent is available to the dogs. Now, let's just review where that scent was found. It was found in the living room of the McCann's apartment. It was found in their bedroom near the wardrobe. It was found on the veranda, and it was found in the garden near the bottom of the steps. It was found on the key to the Renault ceiling that they hide. It was found on the well of the car near the front door. It was also found on 2 separate items of Kate McCann's clothing, and on a red T-shirt which might have belonged to Madeleine or her younger brother Sean. And, of course, it was found on the pink soft toy cuddle cat. Now, all of those things had to be in proximity with the corpse and in direct proximity with the corpse. So these stories about Kate's clothes might have been, for example, in contact with a dead body in Leicestershire and so on, that's far too remote. All those items that I've mentioned, those 10 items, had to be directly next to a corpse which had been dead for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you then, first of all, let's look at the McCanns and the makeup as they are people. Both of them are doctors. I don't think there's any stories of them being in any way alcoholic, drug takers. They seem to be very grounded people, educated people. They had 3 young children. They had a group of very loyal friends. They were on holiday. Everything normally points to on holiday good times, unless that you're some drunk yabon falling off hotel balconies after having a night binge drinking. I don't think this is the case at all. Out of that scenario, where does murder come into it?
Well, let me just make it absolutely clear. I've never used the word murder, and I've never said the McCanns have killed Madeleine. I've never said that. I go with Gonçalo Amaral's belief that Madeleine died from some kind of accident, which he hasn't explained, which is as yet unexplained. Sorry, I've forgotten the original question now.
Well, look, and we're sort of looking at the McCanns because most
right.
innuendos point to them.
Right, I'm going to leave all of those innuendos up because they don't form part of my book at all. But what I think I would like to stress is the evidence we do have of Madeleine crying for 75 minutes, heard by the neighbour, Mrs. Pamela Fan. Now, let's leave aside all questions of the McCann's conduct. Responsible doctors, fine, yes. Out with friends, fine. Got no problem with that at all. But we have factually on the record Madeleine being heard crying for 75 minutes continually on Tuesday, May the 1st. Now, that alone tells us that something is not quite right. And it's easy to think of how many different things could happen to a child who's unattended for that length of time.
Mm-hmm.
And if that happened on a subsequent night, it's possible all manner of things could have happened. For example, as I think Mr. Amaral hints at, she might well have had a fall. She might have been climbing, had a fall, cracked her head on the ceramic tiles. That is a possibility. But please, Maurice, I've never suggested murder. I've never suggested killing at all.
Okay.
No doubt a tragic accident, but one for which I think the McCanns must be partly culpable.
Okay, let's just say it's a tragic accident for the sake of discussion at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Let's then go back to my observation of the McCanns. Doctors, sensible people with friends. I put myself into that same, I'm not a doctor, I come from a medical background, but I'm a family, but I'm not a doctor. God forbid it should happen to someone in my family, a child, one of my children or my grandchildren. It should happen. The first thing that a sensible person, even more so a doctor, would do is immediately call on medical help. Not medical help, call on some sort of situation to try to put try to neutralize the situation. In this case, really what's been said, that if she had died of an accident, the body was disposed of. And these are not, to me, it doesn't add up here.
I think possibly the word panic might be one explanation.
Why should they panic? They're
Right.
doctors.
Yeah, they're doctors, and one particular reason why doctors might panic more than others is that let's assume that Madeleine did die from an accident when they were not in the flat as one possibility. Let's assume that as a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
They may have returned to find Madeleine dying or dead, and concluded that in those circumstances, any autopsy on Madeleine might well help to prove that they had been negligent. For example, it might have shown that she'd been lying there or dead for sufficient time that it's quite clear that the parents should have been there looking after her. So something of that nature, the fear of an autopsy and what it could do to their reputation as doctors might well have...
We have a call coming. Do you mind fielding a call?
Not at all.
Good evening, caller.
Good evening, it's Mary, Maurice.
Hi, Mary.
I just have to say that this is entirely what I've been thinking right from the very beginning, because as doctors, they were petrified of something that might come out of this death. And yes, it could have been an accident, but I think they made a very big cover-up. And so I'm very, very pleased that this man has written this booklet, because I really feel that we should have thought of all this a lot earlier on. You never, ever, ever leave your children.
Okay, thanks, Mary.
Thank you. Bye.